Hello, everybody, and welcome to the AI to Love podcast. My name is Alyssa, and I'm here with my mom, Heidi. And today we're here with Paula Yost, who is an attorney, mental health specialist, mother of four, author. She's amazing and wears many hats, and we're just so happy that she's even got the time to even come and chat with us today
That's true.
about all the wonderful stuff that she's got going on. So thank you so much, Paula. We're so excited to speak with you today.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, so you told us a little bit off of, now you're going to have to go through it all over again. Explain your children again. You have a daughter and three boys.
Yeah. Yeah. So at first I'm an attorney and I'm also a licensed clinical mental health therapist. And before I ever had my biological children, the court system appointed me to serve as in North Carolina, it's called being a guardian ad litem, but in other parts of the country, it's called being a CASA. But essentially, you are acting as an advocate for a child and a check on the system to make sure that the child's needs are being met. So I was appointed for my daughter. I met her when she was 14. I ultimately legally adopted her as an adult. So Tanya is now about to be 32. And then I have three sons who are biologically mine. They are 12. Well, my oldest is 12. My 12-year-old was born with a complete bilateral cleft lip and palate. My second son, Pearson, was a micropreemie. He and I almost died because I had acute preeclampsia. So he weighed 1 pound and 14 ounces at birth. He is now 10. And then my baby, Paul, is 8. And Paul was pretty healthy and drama free. Third time for me apparently was the charm.
You had to have one. You had to have one out of there.
I wasn't. I felt like the universe owed me at that point. An easy one,
Honestly, yeah.
but Paul was my easy one, and so I wrote a book, and my book is kind of about all of it, and IEPs and 504s and children's advocacy, and it's a little law and a little mental health and a little how do we help parents get from A to B.
Yes,
Love that.
it's amazing. So how old was your daughter? She was over 18, but how old was she when you adopted her?
We actually legally adopted her when she was in her 30s.
And
And the reason for that is that she still had a biological mother who was alive.
Okay.
Her biological mother passed away during the pandemic, and
Oh,
we didn't want to go through it was just sort of like out of mutual respect for her
yeah.
biological mother. We didn't want to go through the process of legal adoption. I mean, I've always been her mother.
Okay.
I've pretty much been her mother since she was 15. She's called me mom since she was at least 18. But
Okay.
her biological mother was still alive, and that created additional steps. So when her
Yeah.
biological mother passed away, my husband and I legally adopted her as an adult.
Okay. That's amazing. That's amazing. So what brought you to, because your book covers so many, and if people don't know what IEPs are and all of that, I do because I've lived that life and
Yeah.
fought for my kids had to fight, which is a sad thing that we have to do, but someone has to look out for them. And you talked about crying in your car. I had that same scenario happened to me when with my daughter Kendra, and she was in third grade, and the counselor at the school took me in the room and said that she would not progress. Well, she was younger actually. She was in second grade, and they told me that she wouldn't progress past third grade levels, and she wouldn't be able to read anything past that, and to just be okay with that her being at that level. I remember leaving and just sobbing because I didn't want to put boundaries like that on my daughter. Um, so needless to say, that wasn't true. Um, she reads very well.
All the time.
And she actually graduated from school with a high school diploma, which a lot of them don't, because they just want to write them off. And I sat her down and asked her, I'm like, these are your options. What do you want to do? She wanted the diploma. So that's like, okay, that's all we need to know. And we go after. But like you said, a lot of people, when you're, and when you're starting and your kids are going to school, people don't talk about it. People don't say, oh, I have family that are like, you had to do what? I never even had to worry about any of that with any of my children. I'm like, I can't even imagine that. Um, so there, I know that there are some families out there that have no clue about any of it. And then when they get there and their kids are starting to have issues, they don't know how to start or where to go, so why don't you go into a little bit of that kind of stuff and how you came to learn what you did and
Yeah, so I had two very different IEP experiences. So, for those viewers who don't know what an IEP is, it's called an individualized educational plan. And it is something that you devise for children who need special education. So, I'm going to start by talking about my experience with my daughter, which was completely different from the experience that I had with my oldest son. So, my situation with my daughter was incredibly similar to what you just described. I was her lawyer. I had never been to an IEP meeting before, but Tanya was a child who had significant trauma in her background. Her and my book tells more about her story, but her mother had a low IQ and she also struggled with addiction. And so Tanya was badly educationally neglected. Like she could read and write when I got to her, but she was the age of a ninth grader, but she was only in the seventh grade due to educational neglect and her mother not making her go.
yeah,
So I went to her IEP meeting and we had had her psychologically tested because I didn't know if she had a learning disability. I didn't know if she had a low IQ similar to her mother. I had no idea. So she had a full psychological, and there was nothing intellectually wrong with Tanya. She was fine. And
okay,
so what we were seeing with her difficulties was just pretty much the result of trauma and profound educational neglect. And I went into this meeting thinking this is a team. We are all here to serve the best interests of this child, and we are all going to do what's best for Tanya because
yeah,
that is what I believed an IEP was. And for the record, that is what an IEP is supposed to be.
Mhm.
it is,
That's the point.
yeah,
And so I went into this meeting and I had a teacher who was sitting across from me at the table, and she said, yeah, this kid, you just need to prepare her for a GED. She's not going to be able to graduate from high school. She's too far behind. There's not going to be any catch up. And she just went on and on. And when she finished, I just looked at her and I said, you have absolutely no idea what this girl is capable of. None of us do
Mhm.
because she's never been given a stable home. She's been living in a house where she didn't have toilet paper some of the time. She didn't have food some of the time. She was living in a home where she was having to see her mother be high constantly. She doesn't know what it's like to live in a stable environment. She's been traumatized. And it's
Mhm.
entirely possible that if we can stabilize her and give her a chance to intellectually engage, we have no idea what she can
yeah,
do.
yeah,
And thankfully, like I said that to y'all very nicely. I was not very nice with her. In fact, I probably showed my tail. It's a miracle I didn't get kicked out of there. But
Yeah.
but thankfully, the principal, he was catching my vibe. Like he
yeah,
was with me. And I think he also really wanted Tanya out of his school, to be
yeah,
honest. But basically, he called and said he was able to make an exception and he
mhm,
could move her from seventh grade to ninth grade, which I didn't even think you could do legally. But
yeah,
he was like, we can help her jump and just put her in a bunch of remedial classes. Anyway, long story short, Tanya wound up with a 504 instead of an IEP.
yeah,
So, a 504 is more of a behavior plan that gives kids who have trauma more built in time in the day to get extra help and get extra services that they need. She had a 504 plan, but that 504 plan really worked for her once we finally
mhm,
got it established. She did graduate from high school. She actually has a college degree from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. Her degree is in criminal justice, and she actually has a decent job and has
yeah,
never had a hard time holding down a job.
yeah,
So just completely discrediting, stigmatizing, reading trauma as incapability.
yeah,
And I'm
Mhm.
sorry, but I don't have a lot of patience or tolerance for people that do that at this point. And no
no,
one should because that's socially unacceptable. And I
yeah,
really, if I could go back to that teacher, I just want to be like, you have a college degree. Like you went to school clearly because you want to help and serve children. And
Mhm.
you just wrote this kid off like she was nothing.
Yeah.
And she's exceeded every single thing. And but how many other children
Yeah.
get
Slept
treated
through the
that way?
cracks. Yeah. Yeah. Because
Right.
no
How
one's
many
there to
children
fight.
get, and how many parents get told things like you got told
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
your daughter and who just go home and think that they're right
Yeah.
and that
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be the answer.
Yeah.
And so I just want any mother who hears these doomsday stories about their kids, these people don't know. They don't know the future. They don't know, we don't know what our children are capable of until we let them have an opportunity to perform and
Yeah.
until we love them through whatever they have.
Yeah.
So, my situation with my son was different. My son was my first biological child. He was a very, very, very wanted, anticipated, and planned for baby.
Mm-hmm.
And when I found out he had cleft palate, I was devastated because I carry a lot of guilt. I carried guilt then. I still
Mhm.
carry guilt now that this was somehow my fault. I recognize that is irrational.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. There's
in,
nothing. Yeah.
intellectually, I know that, but I think
As
a
a
lot
mother.
exactly. As a mother, that's a
Yeah.
tough pill to swallow. But
Mm-hmm.
my little guy needed to have some speech therapy. That was all he needed was an IEP for speech. And
Yeah.
his speech was horrible. And I mean, that's understandable. He was born without a roof in his mouth. He was missing
Yeah.
a whole body part that was
Yeah.
required to be able to speak. And we just went to war. I mean, they did not want to give him speech therapy that was adequate for what his internationally famous craniofacial plastic surgeon who teaches cleft palate repair all over the world, they didn't want to listen. And in fact, they told me they
Wow.
didn't have to listen because their physician was not a school system employee. And so that was the time that I left so angry. I pulled over in a CVS parking lot after an IEP meeting. And like, I'm an attorney. Like, people who know me will tell you I'm kind of a hard ass. Like, I have 4 law licenses. Like, I am not some little flower that wilts in the corner and cries. But
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
pulled over in a CVS parking lot and cried so hard, I puked in my coffee cup.
Yeah.
And if that's the way that I felt leaving an IEP, what are other people experiencing? And it
Right.
just made me freaking furious.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is something that we don't have a satisfactory answer. There are mothers and fathers, and grandparents all across this nation who have children who have a need, and that need is being unmet, and why we can't have a true collective partnership with our IEP and 504 teams, I will never be able to explain that. I think it's inexcusable. I think it's a sin. I think it is a failure of moral character.
Yeah. It is. And I mean, what you're talking about, I mean, I remember with um, my daughter Kendra, I went into a room one time and they're like, we need to discuss her IP. And I was by myself. I opened the door and there was a team of like 6 to 10 people
Yep.
sitting at the table
Yep.
and me. And then
Yep.
I'm like, and because autism wasn't a thing as big as it is now, because she's 30,
Yeah.
um, it wasn't as known about. And so I would have to go every single year so that she could get the help that she wanted. And I had to fight for her to continue that help because they didn't have an official diagnosis for her at the time. And so every year I went and battled to get it done for her. And they were awful. I mean, the high
Yeah.
school was a little better until I started to know the people and they knew that I was an active parent.
Right.
And then they were better. So like Kendra, her younger brother, he needed help. But the thing is there's teachers also, I have to say, why parent teacher conference is very good to go to. But my first son, but he's my third child, he had in third grade, I went to one of his parent teacher conferences, and I got after leaving, I was livid because she said that he was so far behind, she said that he should be held back. And I said to her, I'm like, half a year is gone. When did you start to notice there was a problem? You know, and she's like, well, it's just progressively gotten worse. Well, then why didn't we discuss it beforehand? And why didn't we get him help? And now he's, half a year behind or more.
Right.
That's unfair. And so I left that parent history conference and I went down to the counseling center where my older daughter, I knew the teachers there, and
Right.
asked if they could test him to get into us, just pull him out and do math with him.
Yeah.
And they tested them. And another thing people don't talk about is that little gray area that your kids, if they fit in, don't get help, which I
That's right.
don't find fair at all.
That's right.
So he was in that gray area right at the very bottom, almost able to get help. And so she's like, I go, but he needs help. We got to do something. And so she's like, well, there's another test I think I could get him to qualify with. And I'm like, oh, great, do that. And she did. And he ended up getting the help he needed. But the thing is if she wouldn't have worked with me and told me there was another test,
Right.
and I don't think that people ask those questions, you know what I mean? You're just
Right.
like thrown into all of it, and you're like thrown in the water and figure it out. You got to swim. And
That's right. That's
she had
right.
a 504, so I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about because we had to have a 504 because she ended up having a lot of illness, and
Yeah.
so she was on the 504 at high
Yeah.
school,
Yeah.
and then I had IEPs for my other three. So
So, a lot of what my book also proposes is what do we do, right? So, um, for the average parent, they are in the horrible scenario that you and I both just described. Doesn't really matter what the child's diagnostic is, your little person has a need, right? So
mhm.
what do we do when we feel like we are not getting where we need to go? So, the first thing that I always like to tell parents is do not make the first mistake that I made, which is do not assume when you go into that room that this is a partnership.
Yeah,
It should be a partnership. It should be. And it should be about, it takes a village. But
yeah,
that is not what it is. And I and
no,
I hear over and over again with parents that that is not what it is. It should be, but it's not. Just radically accept that
yeah,
it's not going to be a partnership. And don't go in there just thinking you're going to believe whatever they say or take whatever they say
yeah,
because
yeah,
it may not be correct. The
yeah,
second thing that I usually tell families to do is most parents have the experience that you also just described, which is I walked up for my IEP meeting and they opened the door and there's a whole team of people in there. There's like 9 to 10 people in there. And then there's me. And,
yeah,
that feels like you're being ganged up on by the
yes,
system.
intimidating.
It's
Yeah,
very intimidating. I also take issue with that too, because quite frankly, I think that's a waste of my tax dollars. There
yeah,
don't need to be that many
no,
people in there. There's
yeah,
no reason for that. And there's all these different, school system employees who have a title that
yeah,
authorizes them to be there.
yeah,
And I think that's unnecessary, but it is what it is. What I tell most people to do, I have mothers call me all the time, local mothers who say, I need you, being Paula, lawyer Paula, I need
yeah,
you to come with me to this IEP meeting. And I say, whoa. Unfortunately,
you
if
can't
you
do
bring a lawyer to an IEP meeting, the school system is going to shut it down because
that.
they're going to tell you that you can't bring a lawyer there unless they get to bring their lawyer there. And then
Mm.
figuring out how to get two lawyers on the schedule to match with all those other people, what will happen is months will go by
Yeah,
and your child will still not get what they need.
yeah,
So I tell people bring an advocate. So,
yeah,
in many parts of the country, there are advocacy groups, and
yeah,
many of these groups are wonderful. My community has two that I'm aware of. One is called Amazing Grace Advocacy, and one of them is called Mental Health America. And essentially, they are advocacy groups for parents who need support during IEPs and 504s. So,
Mhm.
Wow.
most people around the country should be able to just Google like their city, state, zip code, and
Mhm.
something like school advocates and see
Mhm.
what comes up. But they are wonderful. In most cases, they are either special education parents who have been through 18 years of IEPs and have all these skills and are still
Mhm.
mad about it, just like
Yes.
I am,
Yeah.
and decide they're going to help other mothers and pay it
Yeah.
forward. Many of them are also retired teachers. And I also want to just take a brief pause to say, I do not blame teachers for this. I blame administrators. Are there bad teachers? Sure. There are also bad lawyers. There are also bad law enforcement officers. There are also bad mothers. But a lot of times, I think the teachers are in a position by the administration where their hands are kind of tied to a degree,
Mhm.
and they have to behave a certain way during these meetings, even though they know it's wrong.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of those retired teachers know exactly how an IEP should be written and they know
Yeah.
exactly what to do. And those women are and men are
Yeah.
champions.
Hmm.
And
Well,
so
and I can't
take
say that all
somebody,
teachers are bad either. So I'm on
right.
board with you. I mean, we had numerous, I mean, like I said, the one that did the math, if she
Yeah,
wouldn't have done that, he wouldn't
right,
have qualified.
Hmm.
If I
right,
didn't build a relationship with those people, then
right.
they wouldn't have been taken care of. She had an experience in preschool that she was like 4 years old and she was ganged up on in a corner and teased about her skin color and stuff. And so after that, I couldn't get her to go to school. So we
Hmm.
did like a challenger type of thing, um, because she would just cry whenever I left her. And her first grade teacher was the best teacher she could have ever got.
And she was amazing.
She was amazing because she treated her
Yes,
like she was her granddaughter or something. She
yes,
held her hand, and hugged on her and let her know she was safe and taken care of. So I have to say I've had those teachers with my kids, in and out, and most of them want to help. It's
yes,
the higher ups and the district stuff that
correct.
is what causes the issues here.
And it's also, I think in some degree, it's also a political issue.
So it's
You know,
whole
there is not enough funding.
policies and all that kind of stuff.
There
Yeah.
is not enough funding. And, that's something that I say to all of my elected officials is if you really want to talk about the pipeline to prison,
Yeah.
right? The pipeline to prison is having an uneducated society.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
so many of our little people need speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy. And if you give them those tools when they're 0 to 5, when they're our little preschool warriors, if you
Yeah.
give them those tools when they're little, you're not like my 12-year-old, is his speech is pretty solid right now. But
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been if I hadn't done what he needed between 0 to 5. Like
Yes.
he would have a much more
Yeah.
significant speech problem right now
Yeah.
had I not done what I needed to do for him when he was little.
Yeah.
So I go back to don't believe that this is a village. It's not. Take an
Yeah.
advocate with you to the IEP meeting. Remember that you can request an IEP meeting at any time. You don't have to wait for the 1 year mark. So if
Yeah.
you think, oh, okay, there's a problem that is emerging that was not here before, or there's something going on, at any point, you as mom have a right to request for that testing and you have a right to ask for an updated IEP meeting. And then I always say to the school system sometimes, even if we as parents do everything right, we do all the advocacy we can do, we take the right people to the room, we do everything we can. Sometimes we still have a door that slams in our face.
Hmm.
And if that's the case, that's where we need to look at other resources.
Yeah.
What type of medical insurance do you have? At least in my state, which is North Carolina Medicaid is actually pretty decent for little people, and it will help children who need things like speech, OT,
Oh,
PT.
that's nice. Mhm.
But, you know, again, it's those middle class folks
It
that don't have enough money to just be able to pay for whatever their kid needs but aren't low income enough to get Medicaid. Those are the people that are kind of at the mercy of
Yes.
And then you hype into mom and dad dealing with an insurance company on top of dealing with public education.
Yes.
It is
Yes.
overwhelming. And so sometimes you as mom and dad just need to be as creative as you possibly can.
Yeah.
But if I could tell, if what I'm saying is resonating with people, what I
Mhm.
just want to say is if I could stand there and hold your hand, I would just tell you don't give up
Yes.
because
Hmm.
there is nothing more important than this little person. And
Yes.
this little person is your job. It doesn't matter if these school system employees hate you.
Yeah.
You're not here to be their best friends. You are here for
Mm-mm.
one reason and one reason only, and that is to be the best parent that you can be for your child. And you do, as mother, you
Yeah.
do know your kids. Most mothers who are involved parents, they know what their kids need. And so never be ashamed to ask for it. Never be, quite frankly, don't be ashamed to be a pain. I
Yeah.
respect people who are a pain about their kids. If you can't be a pain about your own children, then what is the point of any of it?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I used to be quiet and shy and didn't talk. Now I do podcasts, but just saying. But
I'm
when
proud of your growth, Heidi.
Thank you. Well, and the thing is that when you have children and they start growing, my Kendra, we did early intervention with
Yeah,
her schooling too, which is an option for people. And so, and even with that, going into school, they wanted to fight me with the IEP and stuff. So there is the early intervention, but you have to be that advocate. I could no longer
yeah,
be quiet or
no,
shy or any of
no.
those things because now I had to fight for my children,
That's
and
right.
because that's what we're there to do.
Yeah, we had someone on another podcast. He calls it being a steamroller parent because you
Mhm.
just gotta just blow through everybody to get what your kid needs, and that's
You,
what your job is to do as a parent.
absolutely. And for me, that job was easier
Mhm.
because I have a law degree. I mean, I advocate for people. That is my nature.
Yeah.
So for me, it was easier. But
Mhm.
you do not need a law degree to be
Yeah.
able to advocate for your children. You, as the mother of that or father of that child, you are enough.
Yeah.
And you do know what's going on. I see so many parents shifting from the school. I also see this in pediatric offices. How many times do I see a mother tell a pediatrician, I think I'm seeing some signs of autism. Could we please test my child? And the
Yeah.
pediatrician says after a 20-minute visit, your kid's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, after 2 years, that could have been ABA therapy, that could have
Yeah.
been early interventions, that could have been things that cut problems off at the pass. Now we're
Yeah.
going, oh, yeah, I see it now. Well,
Hmm.
when mothers tell you, I
They're
see
huge.
something with my child,
Yeah.
believe them.
Yeah.
Munchausen syndrome is incredibly rare. Most
Mhm.
of the time, if a parent tells you they're seeing something or they have a concern, they are right.
Yeah.
And it is our jobs to honor that and help because we're not doing ourselves favors when the children who grow up in our community have significant learning and physical disabilities that they cannot overcome.
Yeah. And that's true. I remember well, see, and I think that that goes, who should they be calling to get help? Because when I did the early intervention, when we called that program, they send out counselors that know, you know what
Yes.
I mean, about disabilities and that kind of stuff. I mean, doctors are great, but I don't think they do the type of testing that you would get if you call a professional to come out and, or take your child to that professional.
Right.
Um, Back when she was young, they came to the house and they would watch her play and would, do all those kind of things, see how she walked and everything. Um, she threw tons of temper tantrums and stuff,
Hmm.
and she's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we love her, but
Yeah.
that's the stuff that you walk through, right? And every year, it would be different in what school she'd go to, or this or that. She was moved around a lot, but it got her to the end where she wanted to be. The work and all the stuff, was worth
Right.
it. It's
It was
worth
high investment, high reward.
yes, it's totally
And
worth it.
and some of these kids are just going to be high investment, high reward. That's
Yeah,
just how a lot of them are going to be because
yeah,
that's how human beings are. And
yeah,
we shouldn't act like, well, if you don't fit into this certain little box or grid or this form I
yeah,
have to check, then we're just going to write you off as somebody who can't graduate from high school. That's
yes.
not acceptable.
No.
Mm-mm.
And
That's not
that's
acceptable.
what they totally were gonna do to her, and that made me mad too, that they're just gonna assume that that's the direction she's gonna wanna go, um, because she did fine enough to get I mean, she graduated, so
Mm-hmm.
I always tell her, I'm like, I go, I want everything for her like everybody else, but hers will take longer for her to get.
Yeah.
So, but I believe she'll be able to obtain the stuff that she wants to obtain. And
Right.
that's kind of how I we talk with her because I'm not going to write her off because she has this or that. I mean, the poor child, she does do a lot. She's partially blind. She had to have a cornea transplant too and
Right.
stuff. And she deals with a lot. And I have to give her credit that she's done very well with
Yeah.
everything that she has going on for her. So,
Well, and that's
um,
the thing too, with so many of these people with enough, or so many humans or so many children, if they just have some love and some guidance and an adult speaking excellence into them, so
yes,
Mm-hmm.
often they can do it. They really
yes,
can. I had no idea when I met Tanya what she was going to be able to do. Like I told you, I didn't know when I first met her whether she had a low IQ. I didn't know whether she was just purely a trauma victim. I had
yeah,
no idea. But there were times where I didn't know. If I had no idea when she was 15 that she would be able to get a college degree, I didn't know if she was capable of doing that. But I
yeah,
always told her, if you want to do this, you can. This is
yeah,
how you do it. I will
yeah,
support you in that pathway if this is what you want to do.
yeah, yeah,
And all that's all human beings need most of the time is somebody who believes in them.
yes, and
Mm-hmm.
someone that they can depend on that's right next to them saying, "I got you."
That's right.
You know,
That's
I
right.
I'm here if you need me. That's, I mean, surprising. She's 31, but she's that's I've always told her. I'm like, I go, you can stay with me until as long as you want to, and I will fight whatever battles that come up or, with all of them. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, my son, he's in a center right now, which I told you that, the one that just got diagnosed, and he's 26. So, I mean, it can be bumpy and hard.
Yes.
And
Everybody just needs a good just support system with
yes,
anything.
Right.
yes.
Well, and that's a good segue into, another thing I like to talk about, which is Heidi, how do you take care of you during
Oh,
all of it?
someone asked me that the other day, and I'm like, I don't know. Honestly, um, I think it's just different all the time. God is my only thing that helps me survive, I think a lot, but,
Yeah.
um, so I go more towards that direction. Otherwise, I burn out.
Yeah.
It can be overwhelming at times. What do you do?
Honestly, I write.
You write.
Um,
Yeah.
I will get very overwhelmed and there's too much noise in my mind. And when I sit down and write it all out, it's like I get it out of my body. This is going to be so gross, but it's almost like going to the bathroom.
Yes, I
Yeah.
understand.
I just need to get it out of my body. And then
Yes.
once I get it out of my body, then I'm
Relief.
okay.
Yeah,
And honestly, I think that that is how my book got born in the first place, is
yeah,
it was just years and years and years of me writing all of this stuff down because I couldn't carry it anymore. It
yeah,
was weighing on me and I
yeah,
had to get it out.
yeah,
And when I got it all out, I mean, my book is really, really personal. Like it's personal about me. I mean, I wrote about, you know, a traumatic birth experience and I didn't hide the gross parts
yeah.
of that story. I mean, I gave it all to you, right? So I wrote very personal stuff about my own physical health and what happened to me and the
Mhm.
experiences that I had. And I thought about it and I was like, is this really something I want America to read?
Yeah,
And you know what? I I don't care.
Yeah.
All I want it to do is help somebody.
Yes.
Like if what I have to say helps somebody, then I want it to be valuable. And I also feel like I do well when I'm able to have conversations like this.
Yeah.
So often when we walk into things like IEP or insurance company issues and we're going back and forth with them, it's like you feel like doors are getting slammed in your face. You feel like you're getting treated like you're wrong for asking for your child's basic necessities, like literal medical needs and psychological needs to be
Mhm.
met. People act like you're crazy and you're wrong. And so the people in my life who like we got you. Like Heidi, I got you. Like I hear you. You are preaching to my choir, girl. I am on board.
Yeah.
You are the type of people who help me
Yeah.
because I need to feel like I'm not isolated.
Yeah. Which is true. It does help to talk and to know someone else has experienced what you're talking about. Um, and that, and that's kind of what with this podcast community is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
what we want to create with our podcast is a community in all
Yes.
areas. I mean, of course, we're an adoption agent. I mean, we work for the adoption agency, but so much more than that. We want to bring everyone together and talk and tell stories and learn from each other, you know. Um,
Yes.
and that's kind of our podcast goes, and we cover all different areas because of
Yeah.
that, because it's life, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
this I love because it affected me so greatly um, when my children were young. And I can't tell you enough at how a book like this would have helped, you know, managing the
Yeah.
waters instead of
Right.
just being thrown into it and not knowing what to do or how to do it or what to expect and how belittling it can be when you're on the other side of that table and they're just pounding on you and it changes you. I mean,
It does.
it changed me. So, but when your children are the most important thing, I'm like, you can change me for it had to be done so I could help
Right.
them. So, um, I wouldn't change anything. I love each of my children. It is what it is. You know, you
That's
go
right.
through whatever you have to go through.
That's right.
So, and I think I told you, but all four of my children are adopted too. So, um, I would do whatever I had to do. It took me a while to get them, so I was going to make sure they're cared for. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know,
If
but
you
that's
can't,
any mother and any situation.
it
So
is.
any parent feels that way. So, I mean, you love your child so much. You're like, okay, tell me what to do. What do I need to do? Where do I need to go? I'll do it. You
Right.
know?
How do I help them?
Yes. Yeah. And I love to how you said that people can look up in their area to have an advocate go with them. That's an amazing thing because I didn't know that that even existed.
It
Um,
may not have when you were going through this. I think
okay.
that has been a newer phenomenon
Mhm.
as special. Honestly, as people like you have taken leadership and formed communities and podcasts, I think
Mhm.
that has inspired more and more people who are knowledgeable about this, who have lived it, to want to tap into those types of spaces.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
am seeing more and more IEP and advocacy groups pop up
Mhm.
all around. Another thing that I see a lot is a lot of times organizations like NAMI, they
Mhm.
tend, like local NAMI chapters, they
Mhm.
tend to know those types of advocates as well because a lot
What
of times they're in the same circle.
what's a NAMI? I don't know.
Oh
Uh,
my goodness. The national, I'm gonna have to,
okay. I'm sorry. I'm like, what
no,
is that?
you're okay. So, for instance, Charlotte has NAMI, which it's a national mental health support group.
Okay.
But
Wow.
NAMI stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness.
Okay.
So NAMI does a lot of support for folks that have bipolar disorder or
Mhm.
schizophrenia. But so often, in those family settings, there are other issues that go on as well. And so a lot of times NAMI is an excellent resource for all things local mental health for whatever
Yeah.
you have.
For older or just children? Does it work for everybody?
Everybody.
Okay, I think we
Uh,
might be calling that.
Yeah, look up NAMI.
Yeah, for what's going on in our family. So
Yeah.
because they all still live at home, so it's like that affects everyone. You can't say
Right.
that it doesn't. So
Right.
um, yeah, his mental health is affected all of us, I think. So
Um,
I keep telling her, I go, girl, you need to go to counseling because
yeah.
it's a lot.
I think everybody needs some sort of like mental health support.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that NAMI, that's a good resource, I
Yeah,
think,
it
just for
is
everybody
very.
to be aware of. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sure.
I'm sure that we'll end up looking them up. But it's been amazing to talk to you and to get all this information. When is your book coming out again? I know you
I
said
think it's going to be out in the next 2 weeks.
two
Awesome.
weeks. And where
Yeah.
can people go to get it?
Amazon.com.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so be sure to send us that link so we can like link it so people
Yes,
can
if you
be
can. Yeah.
I will. I
need to
absolutely will
check
do
it
that.
out. Sounds like she's got a lot of good stuff in there that can
Yeah.
help a lot of people.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome.
So I'll let Alyssa wrap us up, I think.
Yeah, is there any other just overarching message you want to share with
Yes.
anybody? Just you want anybody to know anything, just
I
overall,
think I
like what
just
would you
go
like to
back to
share?
that big message of you are not alone and you are never wrong when you are advocating for a child.
Yeah.
And there are people all across the country who stand with you and who believe in you and who truly don't think your child has to be limited by a diagnosis or by whatever some alleged professional says about them.
Yeah. That's so
Perfect.
true. So true. Thank you for that.
Definitely something that we all need to hear. We're
Yeah.
not alone. We're all in this together.
Yeah. And thank
Absolutely.
you for taking the time. I know it was hard to get you scheduled during your move and everything and the nice winter storm you had.
Thank you, ladies. I've enjoyed being here.
Think okay.
Yes, and thank you so much again. We enjoyed hearing your stories, and be sure to check out her book when it does come out. We'll leave a link in the description, and be sure to like and subscribe for more real stories like Paula's. And if you want to know more about adoption, you can visit our website at www.activeloveadoptions.com.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Paula. We
Thank
appreciate it.
Thank
you.
you.
Yes. Well, and then please do send us the link for your book so we can put
I
it on.
will. I will
Okay.
absolutely get that taken care of. Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it. You're
Yes, thank
welcome.
you.
Thanks for coming on and working through all of your stuff with us so
Yeah.
we can get you here. I'm glad
Yeah.
you didn't give up on it. So
No, no, no. I'm happy to do it. Like I said, it helps my mental health too.
yeah.